Good morning, Illini. I'm Matt Schrock, your host here with Healthy Illini Podcast. We're glad you're with us and excited about the topic that we have today. There's a lot of health and wellness topics that we do that are familiar or you have experience, and then there's some that you may not, and this is one of them. Today we're talking about acupuncture, and it's just another avenue for you to have to work on your health and wellness. So I'm excited to jump into this one, so let's get right into it. Today we're talking about what I guess some people would call alternative therapies, but we're talking about acupuncture. And I'm joined today by James Lohr. He is a licensed acupuncturist. And James, thanks for being here.
Oh, yeah. Thanks. Good morning.
And so, James, I mean, a lot of us have heard the term acupuncture, and usually for me, it's been in like a TV show or a movie and kind of a one-off on the side.
Right.
That's like a scene set up for whatever, but then they move on. But all I know about it is that it has to do with having pins in particular places in your body, and that's about it. So I'd really like to start off with what is acupuncture. So if you would give us a little bit of background of what acupuncture is and maybe just a little bit of how you became an acupuncturist.
Okay. Yeah. Well, you're pretty close. Acupuncture, it's a great way to relieve pain and stress and promote general health. Basically, it's placing these very thin hair-like needles, pins, basically on the surface, on the skin. And yeah, a lot of people are then a little anxious about that, and naturally so. But most people find it not such a big deal. They're waiting for a big ouch, and then it's not really. And then what happens after they're in is this very calming, relaxing, drifty sensation. And that's when your body kind of, for lack of a better way to say it, just heals itself, or you find ways to let go of some of this stress or the pain is eased.
You talked in your prep a little bit about that what it causes when the pins go in. What it causes is it initially triggers basically a fight or flight feeling, and then it moves to a relaxed mode. So you're if I understand you correctly, the pins are causing the body to have a reaction that almost like a tensing kind of relaxation, but your body can't maintain that, and then it releases. And that's where you get that relaxation. Am I correct in that, or am I a little off?
Yeah, it's maybe just overstated. Perhaps that happens a bit. I would say that's not a large part of the tensing part of it, but it does move you from, generally what it does is it affects the autonomic nervous system. So it moves you from probably when you're in pain or overstressed or other issues. You tend to be in a more stress state, the sympathetic state, and it moves you to the parasympathetic state, which is more restful place. So it'll change things like blood pressure, inflammation, blood sugar levels change, your sleep cycle will even out, even hormones tend to get more evened out. So yeah, that's pretty much it. And we're looking just for tension in the body and helping it release.
And the places you choose, it's specific to the need or what you're looking for? Because I know you said that the pins go in places with the myofascial planes of connective tissue, so there's particular spots. And is that where you determined to put the pins? Is that based on what the client's needs are, or what kind of relief you're trying to give?
Yes. So it's kind of a both and answer there. It's a really versatile tool, and it's very simple. So like that mechanism I'm talking about where it just kind of calms you down, that lets the body do a bunch of things. And then it also can be, so that I could do something very general, which I do at a lot of events, something very general that's very calming and can have a wide variety of effects. Like if your digestion is off, I can use the same treatment for someone else who's just very, who's got is very stressed out, something very general that way. But if it's something more specific, like a migraine on a certain part of the head, or, something in the low back, or even, fingers or whatever, I can target those. So it has just because of the way it can release tensions in certain areas or globally, it can be very either or on that. So targeted or general. And usually a little bit of both.
And we're, I want to backtrack just a little bit about acupuncture itself, in that for a lot of people, this sounds like new information. This is not a new practice. And this is a practice that has been used pretty widely through history, correct?
Yeah.
So can you give us a little bit of the history of what how acupuncture has been used and kind of where it came from?
Wow.
A very short. I know you can't go through the whole history, but just a little bit of background on that.
Yeah, I've forgotten some of that, but it's been around. Someplace recorded that it's been around 2,500 years. I've heard also 5,000 years. There's a history of it in, of course, China, and some traditions say that came from India before that. Like the people 2,500 years ago said it came 2,500 years ago from India, or there's a native, indigenous people's tradition here. There's, there's a Russian style, there's a French style, there's a Japanese, Korean, Vietnamese styles. There's styles within schools of thought. And it's been, and lots of different ways to approach it. There's a very popular one that came about in the 70s in New York City around drug crisis. It became very popular in this country and is widely used in the current crisis, the fentanyl and the opioids. So a very simple technique to help people, again, reduce the anxiety or stress, or in this case, maybe cravings, or just, whatever else goes with.
So how did you get into becoming, was it something like for a long time growing up, I'm going to be an acupuncturist, or something you kind of stumbled into, or how did you get here?
Yeah, I kind of stumbled into it. I went to school at the University of Illinois I was on my way to do chemical engineering, and came to a point where I realized that's not really what I wanted to do. And so I left that and was in the restaurant world for a long time, and opened restaurants and was cooking and whatever. And then after a few years of that, I wanted to find something else to do, because can't make a lot of money doing it usually, even if you own the place. But I knew I was interested in other things, and I checked out other things, but nothing quite fit. And I moved to New York City, and happened to take a class on a fluke. It was, I had that weekend off. It was one of those places that have quick, intensive courses in acupressure, and I really enjoyed. I'd never done any kind of body work or massage on people before, but it was real simple and made a lot of sense to me. Like I could help people relieve pain just by placing my hands on, like on their arm and on their leg, and then stuff was happening. I was like, okay. And, from my science background, some of it was kind of cool and mystical or whatever feeling, but I was more interested in like, wow, something just happened.
Mm-hmm.
So what was that? And then to do that, I needed to either go to massage school or go to acupuncture school. So I went and got an acupuncture treatment from one of those places that I was just talking about, sort of a harm reduction center.
Mm-hmm.
And they just put 5 needles in your ear, and it wasn't a lot of training for them. It's very simple and straightforward, but it was an amazing experience. Like, just like, you got to try it sometimes. It's just so calming. You don't think it's going to come from just a couple of pins. And then it took a 3-year program that they have, master's program in New York, the school I went to. I think there were some background requirements I need to get, anatomy, physiology and stuff. And then from there, I graduated in 2000, so I've been practicing since then. And that's been more of my education. It's the last 23 years. So
sure.
At this clinic alone, I had a clinic before this in New York. I don't remember the numbers, but here I'm given over close to 60,000 treatments now since 2011. And it's great. It's great seeing people get better and move through that.
You mentioned the treatments, and as we've been talking, you've been mentioning a number of different situations that acupuncture can help. And it's not just stress. It's not just muscle tension.
No.
Would you share a little bit about the variety of things that people can get treated through acupuncture?
I'll start with the things that can help. It can't help like major injuries, can't stop, right in this emergency room stuff, but it can help around that. So it can help with the pain and the inflammation or subsequent symptoms that sometimes come with that, And same thing with other major, like I help people with digestive issues, so, irritable bowel or whatever. Migraines is a big one, back pain, anxiety, insomnia, fertility is big. It's a really good, there's lots of literature on this, really good adjunct to, especially in assisted fertility stuff, IVF and IUI and so on. I'm forgetting what they mean right now, so I'll pause on that. And a lot of people just use it also, athletes use it a lot for kind of conditioning. helps them be more relaxed and any pain, but also sort of like this stamina and focus that comes from being much more relaxed. And you can get necessarily from other means.
Is this more of I have a symptom and I need treatment, or is this also preventative, that like acupuncture can help prevent these types of things even before it becomes an issue?
Yeah, that's a good portion of people come to see me, with like allergies, or migraines. We get them quieted down, and then they start to notice like, oh, I'm getting some tension in my shoulders or neck. I'll go get some acupuncture. And that seems to like keep that at bay. Same thing with allergies, sort of just, they can manage it much better on their own. And that's what I encourage is, try it enough and get things quieted down, back on track. And then you have a sense of what's, when we're also stressed out all the time, it's hard to even know what level we're stressed we're at, where it's nice to be able to get it back down to like a 2. And so, when you're pushing 3 and 4 rather than being at like 11 and 14. If that makes any sense what I'm talking about there, but yeah,
it does.
It's so yeah, a lot of people use it to manage their health.
Do you have a recommendation for frequency of coming? Like, do you recommend, hey, get acupuncture once a month, every other week? It just depends on the situation as to how often you recommend somebody to come in.
Right. When someone's coming in for something specific, there's a bit of, I have a simple pain scale, 1 to 10, 10 being the worst. So that usually determines, if you're in a 10 or even 8 to 10, I want to see you a bunch of days in a row in the next, like 3 or 4 times a week in the next 2 weeks kind of thing. That's pouring it on thick to just kind of but some people are in a lot of pain and they've been in a lot of pain for a while. And so that's what helps kind of bring that all down and makes it so their life is a little more manageable. Twice a week is about bare minimum to do if you're trying to resolve something, like if it's an ongoing issue, arthritis or digestive issues that are kind of not at acute level, but sort of in the 5 to 7 range type thing. But then some people they make their own choice after that. Most people on that middle or lower level, I say, come in twice a week just to kind of get a sense of how to use it. Because it's very much to talk about acupuncture and what happens. It's kind of difficult. It's an experience, and it's an experience that lasts maybe several days or weeks sometimes, where you go, this is right for me, or I could use a little more acupuncture, or other means. But that's a much better way to approach it. Is the patient is determining their frequency. But yeah, I give people guidance on that to. So they, because a lot of times some people try it once and they're like, well, it was good for a few days. I'm like, yeah, that means good. Let's come back and let's keep pushing it. And so the pain level is like the 3-4 range or less.
What is the average length of an acupuncture appointment? Like, how long is that session?
That usually about the first time it's a little bit longer with paperwork and kind of checking out so we say about an hour and 15 minutes or so. Most people, once they place the pins, I say give yourself at least 30 minutes. Most people, it's more like 35, 45 minutes. Mm-hmm. It's this, what happens, again, once the pins are placed, is you kind of go through like a rest cycle. The analogy is like when you restart your computer, kind of thing. At first, you're kind of a little bit like, oh, I'm feeling kind of relaxed. And then you kind of zone out for a few minutes or so, which it can feel like just a few minutes, but it's really like 20 minutes or 25. But then you're kind of like, your body's done. You're kind of like, okay, I'm ready to go. And you feel kind of refreshed, and it's as simple as that.
One of the things you mentioned that I'd honestly never heard of, I didn't have no concept of what that was. You talked about community acupuncture, and I really had no concept. And when I started reading, I was like, oh, I didn't even know that was a thing. Because for me, acupuncture is, a room laying on your stomach on a table, and right. A bunch of pins in your back kind of idea. That's kind of what I picture. But the community acupuncture is something totally different. Would you share a little bit about what that is?
Yeah, it's a bit of a misnomer, kind of like organic vegetables, where you're like, wait, what? They are vegetables, right? But yeah. So in most of the world, acupuncture is treated in a group setting. When I went to China to do an internship, and there was a room about the size of this room, but enough space for about 12 to 15 people. It was pretty closely packed there. People were getting acupuncture sitting right next to each other and resting all together there, and the room was very chill. But in the U.S., and I'm going to say, I don't know about Europe. I've heard that that's also the practice. It's become more of like you said, it's a table in a private room and more exclusive sort of setting. So the problem is that makes it not easy for the acupuncturist. It takes up a lot of time. And because, like I said, there's that whole timing aspect where the person's just resting. It makes it hard to, if you have one room or two rooms, you can't see a lot of people. And that expense, then that makes a barrier for people to not only, some people for even getting one treatment, but also for people to get multiple treatments, like I was saying, to get proper relief. So this setting is that I use, it sort of came about in it's got a tradition in this country around the harm reduction setting. We're using ear pins or just to get the delivery of the setting I was in was just very simple, like office chairs and a serene setting, place the ears, and that was it. There was not a lot of frills to it. What I use is about 1,200 square feet with 12 recliner chairs. The lighting is very soft, and there's nice ocean waves or nature sounds going in there. People crank back on the chairs, and they just roll up their pant legs and sleeves, take off their socks and shoes, and kick back. And I place the pins, and they just chill out for a while, and then I can move on to another person who's 6 or 8 feet away, and that way more people can get seen. They get arguably better results, but I can see them more frequently. But there's also this really nice feeling, like at a restaurant, maybe something like that, where there's a community of people resting together and focusing on their health. And that almost sounds too formal. I love it because that's my workspace. It's very calm in there. And this way, it kind of reduces some of the things we were talking about earlier about like someone being like, oh, what's acupuncture? What's it going to do? Or what is the needle's going to, what are they going to do to me? You walk into this room, you see a bunch of people kick back on recliner chairs. Some of them may be snoring. Some of them are just totally like, very, very chilled out. People go, your body says, oh, I can do this.
Yeah.
That's the best part of it, I think.
It kind of builds that community atmosphere and that at ease because you are seeing somebody else. It's not just you in a room
right.
trying to figure out what's going on. You have that reference point and other people kind of hanging out. So yeah, I thought that was it was really interesting to me. And I'll be very honest, that sounds more appealing to me than what my previous idea of acupuncture was. Coming in before I knew anything about it, I was kind of like, I don't know, laying on a table by myself with pins. I don't know if that's not something necessarily that I felt comfortable with, but that sounds like something that the room of seeing others, of being in that very relaxed atmosphere of the design of it is very appealing. And so that was a huge thing for me to learn. That's probably why I love doing these kind of podcasts, because I learned something that really changed my mindset around it.
Yeah.
So let's say somebody's been listening like me. They're like, this sounds really interesting. How do they contact you? How do they get involved? How do they get an appointment? What's the process for that for them?
Yeah. My website is Urbana, Urbana -Acu, ACU, so urbana-acu.com. And there is, more information on there. There's forms you can download for first time. There's a scheduling button, so to speak, and phone number. We do schedule people, but we schedule them about every 5 minutes, unless you're a new patient, that's about 10 minutes. Sometimes people walk in or they call ahead just to see. We can usually fit people in, but please help us out by just because sometimes, certain hours are a little bit more of a, traffic jam, so to speak. So we want to get you in and otherwise, make it a comfortable experience that way.
Do you treat children also? I mean, is there a minimum age to come to your clinic, or like families? Do you do that as well?
Acupuncture is great that way. I've treated for very young kids, even a special price for kids. So a little bit less. I've treated very young, like less than a year old on up. A lot of times parents will come with their child and get a treatment together or try out one pin And that's, or come and watch the parent get a treatment. That was always really great because I think a lot of people should know what this stuff is. It's so simple. Everybody should do it. But, it's a nice tool to have in your health toolbox. I don't know if that's a thing, but yeah. So yeah, you can check out my pricing there. I don't know if that's cool talking about now. The other thing about the community model is that because I'm able to see more people, I work on a sliding scale, and you choose what you want to pay, and that's from $20 to $50 per visit. The first time there's an additional 10, so it's 30 to 60, and that makes it so people can budget that way and be more frequently. And if you have insurance, you can ask for a receipt to get reimbursed by your insurance company to keep overhead down. I don't work with insurance companies because it's just too costly to do that.
Well, James, I appreciate you taking the time to talk to us today. For me, this has been really informational and really eye-opening because there's a lot of this I was not aware of. And so that's why I like doing these kinds of things. But I just want to say thank you so much for coming and sharing with us about what you do.
Oh, this has been great. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Your health and well-being is extremely important to us here at Healthy Illini. That's why we do this. And there are so many aspects that we're familiar with and a lot of aspects we're not familiar with. And this may have been one of them. Acupuncture may have been something you've heard of or maybe had a little periphery knowledge, even experience with. But it's an opportunity to, I love the health toolbox. It's another tool in that toolbox. I love that phrase. And it's something to check out. So check out the website, urbana-acu.com. It's in our bio. You can click on that there and follow it just to see if there's something that might be helpful to you. It might be something that comes alongside other treatments or other health activities that you're doing. But if you have questions, reach out to James there. If you have questions, you can reach out to us here at Healthy Illini. We'll be happy to put you in contact with somebody who can answer those questions for you because there's a whole lot of opportunity out there to be healthy and to work on your health and wellness. And this is just another avenue that you can explore. But thank you for joining us today. You're on a personal journey no matter where you are in it. You are important. You matter. Your health and wellness are important and matter. And we're here to keep you well to excel. So go have a great week, Illini. Let us know how you're doing, and we'll catch you next time on Healthy Illini.